Hey son, are you winning?
Hey Dad, I want to do art for a living.
You want to go homeless? Go to architecture. You can draw all day.
If you ask an architecture student why they study architecture, they will tell you they love the pursuit of art within a physical environment that people interact with every day, and how the white simplistic modernist design inspires them to make bold designs. And if you ask me, I saw the housing price and thought, hey, that's the single most expensive thing most people will buy. People who make them must be rich.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
What a lot of people get right is that architecture school is drawing, but not just any drawing. The first thing you need to do when joining is to copy a 1 to 100 floor plan. You must then measure every line, calculate the length, convert it to another scale, and actually draw it out with a ruler. It's not just any ruler, it's a scale ruler, but we'll get back to it later. Architecture school is also more than just drawing. So my first attempt at modeling ends up scraping together a cardboard model of that same house, and in the following class, the first thing my teacher said was, Hiya! I'm very disappointed in you guys. Do you even know how to draw? Where's the line weights? Where's the details? Why is this line wobbly? At that moment, you start googling the terms since you've only been drawing with pencils on your maths homework and also trying to find a longer ruler on Amazon. This will happen every week until you graduate, even if you swap teachers. Occasionally asking you if they can pull apart your model in a very polite manner. Once in a while, they also get tired of speaking, so someone else will do the talking. This is a crit, where a stranger will look at your project very critically and criticize it with fresh eyes. But here's a friendly reminder, some are just opinions.
I am chuffed to bits with that one, except for the fact that it isn't really working too well.
So focus on the facts they spit. How you design buildings will also evolve from what do you need to do, what more can you do, how much you can actually manage to do without dying, and becoming a capitalist. After your first hand drawing semester, you quickly progress to using computer graphics and despise everyone who uses PowerPoint instead of InDesign. No one will teach you how to use the software, so look them up on YouTube or LinkedIn Learning or whatever. Here's also where your ruler will switch jobs from measuring to supporting your PC's operation as long as it doesn't catch fire when you're rendering Lumion animations at 4K ray tracing. But there will be a point where you can't stop avoiding your physical work, so you start doing 3D printing and laser cutting to make models. Most tutors will be very pleased by it and also how much you manage to do, and tell you to do all of those within a week. So to keep your sanity, you decide to do what every architecture company does. Outsource it to some guy on Fiverr to turn your scribbles into a full-fledged project. Sorry, Midjourney does that nowadays. However, that will never ease your insecurities about your project, and you'll still be working on more stuff until 3 AM, getting 2 hours of sleep and showing up to class asleep. Although how your project looks is crucial to your success, people still mess up because of the non-design modules. Unfortunately, I picked architecture because I can draw, not because I can read or write. Since the lectures at 9 AM, you drag yourself out of bed to the lecture theatre and found a top row seat with someone in front of you, then fell asleep again. As far as you know, you're not interested in the history of architecture. And there's an essay which modern problem does requires a modern solution. I mean, more time in designing will surely do more for your grades, right? Then there's construction and management, which never really seem to do anything since your project is not getting built. You do get to practice it though. Then there's the module for regulations and calculations, which is great on how feasible and sustainable your design is. Regulations are not that hard to deal with, however how we piece the building together and how it actually remains that way can't. Your aesthetic design definitely has to brace for impact and check for regulatory compliance. So as soon as we manage to copy a wall from our favorite building, make it kinda work, we leave the rest up to the engineers. Bruh. That's also why the ones that really hate maths love go to theoretical proposals. Our earliest example can be seen in the Tower of Babel, where the window is not calculated. Although being struck down by nature can be defined as God's intervention. For the less famous one, there's Archigram and Super Studio. Archigram is famous for the plug-in and walking cities, while Super Studio is most known for the big boxes that spans across Earth. To be fair, Archigram and Super Studio probably have a lot more thoughts than our realistic designs, and they do inspire a lot of generations of architects. Although this is a good aspiration, it's basically telling your career advisor that you want to become a content creator. Since you graduate someday, here are some directions that you get to choose.
The word of the day! Job!
If your proposal is good enough and you have the calculations backing your design, you might get accepted into a big company and get a crazy paycheck, minus 20 unpaid overtime hours a month. If your proposal is less good but you still have the calculations, you might join a normal practice and get an okay paycheck, this time without overtime. And if your proposal is really cool but you have no calculation, you might become an influencer,
Go outside and get a job!
like Archigram. And mind you, academia is not on this list, because to do academia, you need to become the maths. Doing research paper, teaching classes, and sometimes getting to make that student do the hard work in their research. Don't worry, the kids are paid with exposure. So what's the lesson here? Do the maths.
Without a solid foundation in maths, our children risk being left behind, shut out of careers they aspire to.
For my own statistics, about 70 people dropped out of my cohort over 3 years, so you could probably do something that's related and doesn't require math. Maybe illustration.
Homeless.
But technicalities aside, how's life for architecture students? Although we are overworked and probably way too perfectionist, we do enjoy a rich social life. Inside the architecture building, of course. Since we stay there practically every day all year, you end up surrounded by people who do the same thing and go do everything together. And sometimes unfortunately, queuing for the same machine together as well. This closeness ends up in many relationships between us. Unfortunately, very public relationships. It also works the other way. You see someone only once a week in class,
1 week later.
then he brought back a whole professional project, and he disappears again. No one really knows who he is, maybe except his team. Those are the architecture lovers and there are the haters. They're usually surviving architecture, not experiencing it. So don't listen to them, join us! I'll say those who have excellent aesthetic and artistic taste, a great problem finder and solver, will thrive a lot. Things are supposed to be pretty, but also in architecture school they want your project to help push the world forward, not just serve their needs. But the catch is, the ones that succeed also have graphics that can be put into art museums, which from my own work experience they are not that useful. And no one really cares about those pretty drawings after it's built, since you are studying architecture, not art.
Ethan, are you studying? I told you do art, you go homeless.
Happy New Year and thanks for sticking around to the end of the video and the fan art. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like if you liked it. It's based on my own experience in Wales. So if you are from somewhere else, tell me what's different in your school. And if you want to know why buildings nowadays look so much simpler, go watch this video. See you there!